Some people watching this might be thinking, man, you're a piece of shit. People are interested in crime. There's no getting around it, and Americans love violence. You have documentaries on serial murderers, prisons, and the television shows like Mindhunter. You have fictitious characters based on real-life serial murderers that did real-life serious killings, but that's all okay. It's complete double standard. People have always wanted to collect this stuff. I didn't start this. This isn't some new phenomenon. This particular piece right here framed is a Ted Bundy witness subpoena. This drawing up here is by Charles Manson. It's of the sun. John Wayne Gacy, hi-ho in the winter. My preoccupation with, death started long before, I even really knew what those things were. When I was little, I thought about people stabbing each other, and as a 6, 7-year-old, I didn't know how when you're that small, it just seems so foreign how somebody could do that to another person. It was just alien. It didn't make sense to me. I eventually discovered there were people that did this for recreation, for pleasure. The serial killer. There's only one Charles Manson. There's only one Richard Ramirez. There's only one Ted Bundy, one Gacy. I don't condone it. I don't think it's okay, but it's interesting. I'm a collector. True, this is a little bit more macabre than collecting stamps. Me, I'm a murder junkie. One day I decided to do a search for Richard Ramirez, and I found a website that just had pictures of his artwork. Not for sale, it was just displayed. Seeing that kind of sparked a little bit of excitement in me, interest. I was like, man, where do you get that? I want one of those Richard Ramirez drawings. I found the California Department of Corrections death row roster with his prison number. And I wrote him a letter, and Ramirez received it and then wrote back. To this day, have that letter along with every other letter Richard Ramirez has sent me, and yeah, that definitely set the stage. I remember when the letter arrived, I was like, yes, this is cool. One day, it just hit me that I could do this with other people. 17 years later, I have 16,000 letters. I've purchased over 10,000 individual letters. And I turn around and sell those for profit. Before I know it, I was getting inundated with, collectors, begging me to give them my stuff. Murder Auction kind of doubled as a social network because it brought all the collectors together. Everybody could kind of meet and get to know one another. Charles Manson string arts are really popular. People always seem to want those. Charles Manson craft items will sell for thousands. John Wayne Gacy paintings, particularly his skull clowns and pogos. I've seen Gacy paintings sell for 3,000. Ed Gein stuff can sell for, several thousand. Albert Fish would be kind of like a Holy Grail type thing. Jeffrey Dahmer, Ted Bundy, those names, they're household names, and people are always going to have an interest in those cases, at least in my lifetime. And when somebody wants something, that's the best ingredient, and then they'll pay whatever it'll take to get it. When people ask me what my favorite, the pinnacle piece of my collection and the crime stuff, it's not a tangible thing. It's the visits and the interactions with the families of offenders. I was able to visit with Charles Manson between 35, 40 times. The last 10 years, 15 years of his life is actually pretty good. And I'm glad that, that could be a part of it. I felt really, really fortunate. People say, oh, you're dirtbag, you're making these inmates money. And there's only one way to describe that statement. It's pure bullshit. It's just not true. Inmates are not in on this. And anybody who says that is lying. I try to be as sensitive as I can within reason. Like, I don't let people sell grave dirt from victims. I don't let people sell pictures of offenders or victims' children. But there's some people who just, for whatever reason, they're professional victims, and that's what their life is now. All they see is my loved one was killed, I'm going to be angry now and try to, you know, project my misery on everybody around me. They're so hypocritical. You know, they get paid, they'll do books, they make money. They don't donate the money to anybody else involved in the case, because there are victims that don't want to be put in the press and want to be left alone, but other victims want to talk about it. So I think it's extremely hypocritical for people to tell me that, oh, what I'm doing is so awful, but then they do it themselves, and it's somehow okay. You know, talk to me about morality. Shut up. You know, I tell you where you can stick your morality, man. It's subjective to the individual, and you don't get to tell me. And if you don't like this, hey, I'm really, you know, not sorry that you don't like it. Why have you watched this long?